My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins and the grace to make these moments of prayer fruitful. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. With a large crowd gathering and people from every town finding their way to him, Jesus used this parable. And so begins today's Gospel, and immediately afterwards, we hear the parable of the sower going out to sow. But Jesus, even with those first words, I like to imagine those great crowds gathering. People of every shape and form, tall and short, skinny and plump, intelligent and not so intelligent, the sporty and physical and others who are anything but sporty or physical. That great multitude of people, just every type you can possibly imagine. And then I like to imagine your face looking out on those souls, looking out at that great abundance of various peoples. And I like to think that when you saw those souls, when you looked at those faces, the young, the old, the tall, the short, everyone in between, that you saw so many futures, so many possibilities. And of course, I suppose, first and foremost, you saw the radical, life-changing possibility that you were bringing to them at that moment. And so then we hear the parable of the sower going out to sow. And a certain question comes up. What does it take, Lord, to be one who yields good fruit? One who perseveres? One who stays with you to the end? I can't help but think of a secret doubt that lies hidden in the hearts of many souls. Because there are some, plenty whom I've met, who have a secret fear of failure at the end. That they'll go and they'll struggle their whole life long, and at the end, they're going to mess it up, and it will all have been a big waste of time. I think of those souls, those good souls, great and marvelous souls, and I'd love you to show them that they need not fear. I mean, what does it take to persevere? Just to want it. I think we know we can always turn back to you. And realistically, we know that we always are turning back to you. So why should we be afraid? I know the devil would love us to fear, whereas you only want us to trust. But the devil uses half-truths. He likes to convince us that we can't. It's beyond us. And then, of course, it's likely that we're going to fail. Well, he's right, halfway. He's right that we don't have the strength to persevere by ourselves, that we could fail. But the fact that we know we can't guarantee anything by ourselves means that we choose to rely entirely on you. And so, really, that temptation of the devil shouldn't give us any problems at all. Now, Lord, I like to see you looking out on that crowd. And in your face, I don't see pessimism. I don't see you thinking, well, gee, I bet that guy's going to get it wrong, and that girl over there, she's sure to stuff it up. No, when I see you looking at that crowd, I see you thinking of the future, of how you are going to call those souls, stay by them no matter what. In fact, I see you thinking of everything that you were going to do to guide them and to ensure that they stay close to you. How you would even call many of them back at the last minute, no matter how far they had gone. And then I contemplate the way that you look at those souls, contemplating their future, contemplating the way that you are going to call them, guide them. And I can't help but think that the story of human frailty is only complete when it goes with the story of divine fidelity. Jesus, I'm really convinced that this parable is not to foretell our own destruction, nor the destruction of others, but simply to warn us of things that can take away our happiness, things that can lead us away from you. And, like always, admonition doesn't imply rejection. Now, a little while ago, I was asked to give a talk to some dads. I really didn't understand at all why I was being asked to give a talk to some dads because, well, the talk was about parenting, and I thought, what on earth do I know about parenting? I mean, maybe someone who has a lot of experience might have something to say, but I don't. Anyway, I did what I could. I thought, I'll prepare a talk and at least know something about people, about the way people will think, and interactions in families. You hear a lot of that in spiritual direction and confession, so I'll do what I can. That was all good. I mean, I can always sit down and talk, I thought, and that's exactly what I did. But then, of course, it came to question time. And question time, well, that makes everything much more complicated. And then one of these dads had a really fantastic question. I don't say it was a question that was easy for me to answer, but I recognized instantly that he was a guy who really understood his daughter. Because he said to me, I have a problem. Every time I try to discipline my daughter, she interprets it as rejection. Well, I was a little bit flummoxed because I saw the truth of what he said, but I didn't immediately see how to answer it. Then I realized that, of course, the solution is so much based on the relationship. If there's a constancy of love that his daughter knows for sure that always and everywhere he loves her, when it comes time to discipline her, he can win her over there as well. And all dads love, but they struggle. They struggle because they want to admonish, they want their children to flourish and grow, but to do that, well, it's not just a matter of hugs and kisses. They have to push them, discipline, admonish, and they struggle with that. Well, God also struggles. He struggles to help us to know that He's with us and that He loves us. And especially, He struggles to get us to know that when He admonishes, it's to protect and to build up, not the reverse. Well, if we want to understand that, we need to build the relationship with God as well. Just the same as that dad and his daughter, we need to be absolutely convinced, by working on our relationship with God, that He's always with us, always backs us up, always supports us, always loves us. The first step to perseverance is trust. Don't doubt, because we need never doubt God, the Almighty and the Infinite, who is determined to keep you close to Him. The parable, of course, isn't about being lucky enough to fall on good soil or not. It's about seeking good soil, no matter where we are. For a lot of us, we need to be particularly attentive to the seed that fell among thorns. As for the part that fell into thorns, this is the people who have heard, but as they go on their way, they are choked by the worries and riches and pleasures of life, and do not reach maturity. Just look at the world in which we find ourselves. Look at the world in which this seed that we are fell. We're surrounded by riches and pleasures of the world. There has never been a time in history when there has been an abundance of worldly pleasures and riches available to everyone, like what we have now. We are quite literally surrounded by thorns. So if it's just about where the seed fell, the fact of the matter is we're all toast. We don't stand a chance. We may as well just give up right now rather than waste our time. But it's not about our having fallen among thorns. It's about where we put our heart. Jesus simply calls out to us, don't let your heart be choked by those things. And we can ask ourselves, how much am I taking Jesus' advice? Are we attentive to those material things that can seem so important to us, so much more important than they are? It's like that old adage that God made us to use things and love people, but the devil wants us to love things and use people. We can all do a little examination of conscience. Where do we let things get in the way of how we treat people, or how we see them, how we love them? Now, comparisons are inevitable in material things, but when we find ourselves getting obsessive about it, or when we consider that our own value increases because of it, whether it's having the latest mobile phone, or a particular car, or anything else, we realize Jesus is calling us out. He wants us to realize that's not where our happiness lies. And He wants us to be happy in good soil, to persevere and bear fruit. And what do you do when you realize that the thorns are closing in? That there are small things or big things in your life that seem to impede you from treating people well, or dominate the way that you think about yourself, the way that you value yourself. How do you solve that? Well, of course, there's no generic answer, but the best and most simple thing is just get advice from someone you trust. Let's ask our Mother Mary to help us take Jesus' advice as it's intended to be, to set us free. At the same time, we ask her to help us to trust. Our perseverance and our apostolic effectiveness is not something fatalistic. It's not like as if I was born wrong, in the wrong time or the wrong place or whatever, or just that I'm wrong, I'm just wrong. No, you're most definitely not wrong. You're not perfect either, nor am I. None of us are. But you're not wrong. You're quite all right. All we need to do is listen to Jesus Christ and let Him guide us. So Mary, our Mother, teach us to trust God, to trust that He's watching over us, taking care of us, and guiding us to Himself. And knowing that, help us to listen to Him as well. I thank You, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations which You have communicated to me in this time of prayer. I ask Your assistance in putting them into effect. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.